For most of human history, kings ruled by controlling land, armies, and laws. But in the 21st century, a new kind of monarchy emerged, one without crowns, castles, or bloodlines. Instead of swords, these new rulers command data, and instead of kingdoms, they govern digital empires that span the entire planet. Their names aren't written in history books yet, but everyone knows them. Billionaires who built platforms so massive that they no longer compete with governments. They overshadow them. The rise of the digital kingdoms began quietly, disguised as innovation. Search engines, social networks, e-commerce platforms, and smartphones became tools of convenience, until they became something else entirely: infrastructure. Today, a handful of tech companies control the world's communication, information flow, digital identity, cloud storage, maps, entertainment, and even financial transactions. No king in history ever had this much reach. Think about it. If a medieval king wanted to control a population, he had to build armies and walls. A tech platform can influence millions with nothing but an algorithmic tweak. In a single update, they can reshape markets, silence voices, manipulate trends, and redirect global attention. And unlike old kingdoms defined by borders, digital kingdoms have no geography. They sit above nations, operating in every home, every city, every pocket. Their influence extends to presidents, stock markets, cultural beliefs, and even the way people think. When a platform decides to change a rule, the world is forced to adapt. Governments negotiate with them, not the other way around. This is the birth of a new power structure. Unelected monarchs, ruling invisible empires made of data instead of land. We didn't vote for them. We barely understand their power, but every day, we live under their digital rule. The transformation from tech company to digital kingdom didn't happen overnight. It evolved step by step, each stage quietly increasing control until these platforms became more powerful than the institutions meant to regulate them. The key to their rise wasn't land or armies. It was dependence. They built systems so essential that life without them became almost impossible. It started with convenience. Social networks made communication instant. Online marketplaces made shopping effortless. Search engines made knowledge accessible to anyone with Wi-Fi. But over time, these tools turned into gateways, and whoever controls the gateway controls the world that lies beyond it. Platforms became the digital equivalent of medieval kingdoms, each with its own walls, roads, marketplaces, and rules. Facebook became the global public square. Google became the world's library and map maker. Amazon became the universal marketplace. Apple became the gatekeeper of digital identity. Microsoft became the invisible infrastructure powering governments and corporations. Inside these digital kingdoms, the platform is the king, the terms of service are the law, and the algorithm is the judge. If a platform decides you're out, you're out. No trial, no appeal, no accountability. A president, a billionaire, a journalist, a small business, it doesn't matter. One algorithmic decision can erase your reach, your customers, or your presence. And unlike traditional governments, these kingdoms do not need permission to expand. They grow automatically every time someone logs in, downloads an app, or uploads a photo. With every click, every search, every swipe, the kingdom grows, and so does the king's power. Today, these platforms are not companies competing in the market. They are territories competing for human attention, human behavior, and human dependency. And once a kingdom becomes big enough, even governments must kneel. Behind every digital kingdom stands a ruler, and these rulers aren't kings by bloodline. They are kings by algorithm. Their power doesn't come from armies or empires. They come from networks, platforms, and billions of data points flowing through servers every second. These are the tech lords, and in the modern world, they wield more influence than any monarch in history. Think about it. A medieval king could command a few million people at most. A tech lord can command the behavior of billions with nothing more than a design change, a new policy, or an algorithmic nudge. What president, what army, what constitution has that level of influence? These tech CEOs are treated like visionaries, but in reality, they operate like digital monarchs who control everything within their borders: your social life, your access to information, your digital identity, your buying habits, even your political opinions. They have the power to elevate someone to global fame or erase them from the digital landscape entirely. And what makes them even more powerful is that their rule is inherited not by blood, but by network effects. Once a platform becomes too large, no competitor can challenge it. Once a service becomes essential, no government can break it. Once a billion people join, the creator becomes something more than a CEO. He becomes a king, ruling a realm of data and attention. In the U.S., big tech CEOs now command influence that rivals the most powerful institutions. They testify before Congress not like criminals, but like royalty offering clarifications. The stock market reacts to their tweets like royal decrees. Global leaders line up to negotiate with them. Their decisions ripple across the world in seconds. A change in policy can shift elections, redirect billions in capital, or silence entire movements. No king in history ever had such immediate, global power. This is the age of tech lords. Unelected, unstoppable, and ruling territories made not of land, but of screens. If ancient kings controlled people with laws and swords, modern tech lords use something far more powerful: algorithms. They don't command your obedience, they shape it. They don't force you to follow, they guide you without you noticing. And in this new, digital feudal world, obedience isn't demanded, it's engineered. Every time you scroll, tap, pause, like, or search, algorithms study you. They build a psychological blueprint of your fears, desires, habits, weaknesses, buying behavior, political bias, even your loneliness. Then they use that blueprint to nudge you, influence you, and push you where they want you to go. Not by force, not by threat, by prediction. The modern algorithm doesn't just react, it anticipates. It knows what video will keep you watching, what headline will provoke you, what product will tempt you, what ad will convert you. Slowly, your digital world rearranges itself around what keeps you hooked and what keeps the kingdom growing. This is the new form of obedience. You don't follow orders, you follow recommendations. And because algorithms are invisible, people rarely notice how controlled their lives have become. The platforms decide what you see, who you hear from, what counts as real, and what vanishes into silence. They filter reality itself. In the U.S., algorithms quietly influence elections, culture wars, social movements, the economy, mental health trends, and even how children develop. They determine which voices rise and which disappear. They decide what becomes viral and what dies unnoticed. This isn't just influence, it's governance. Not democratic governance, but algorithmic governance. Unseen, unvoted, unregulated. And the most dangerous part? The more data we give them, the smarter they become. The smarter they become, the more control they gain. And one day, we may wake up and realize we didn't just live in digital kingdoms, we served them. As tech kingdoms grow and traditional institutions weaken, the world is slowly drifting toward a new feudal system, one where the people don't depend on governments, they depend on platforms. And in this future, citizenship won't be defined by your country, but by the apps you use, the devices you own, and the systems you rely on. Imagine a world where your digital identity is issued by a tech company. Your money exists only in corporate-controlled wallets. Your access to information, work, and communication is controlled by private platforms. Your reputation is measured by algorithmic scores. And your entire life can be restricted with a single system-wide ban. This isn't science fiction. It's already visible today. Big tech is building infrastructure that governments once controlled: healthcare records, digital IDs, financial networks, cloud systems, communication pipelines, even AI-driven law enforcement tools. As these technologies advance, governments will increasingly rely on tech giants until the line between public and private power disappears completely. In the U.S., this shift is accelerating. Cities run on Amazon's cloud. Elections rely on social media platforms. Schools depend on Google. Corporations depend on Microsoft. And AI systems, built by private companies, will soon manage everything from traffic to banking to national defense. When digital kingdoms become more necessary than the state becomes irrelevant. And that's when the new feudal order begins. A world where tech lords rule not by force, but by control of the digital lifelines humanity cannot live without.